In this video we're going to look at what's better for self-defense. Keep the knife forward or the knife back. Hi guys, Paul from Warrior Tactical Systems here. In this video we're going to look at what's better for edge weapon self-defense. Should I keep the knife in my forward hand or should I put it in the back, protecting it with my other hand? So, years ago when I first started in martial arts, the big thing we used the knife for was knife sparring. We did knife versus knife. And I didn't understand at that time that that's really for attributes. That's the main thing you're developing there. And it's great for attributes. I highly recommend you do it because you develop that footwork, you develop that quickness, you develop understanding of attacking what's coming toward you. There's a lot of good attributes that can be developed from knife sparring. But how often are we really going to get a knife versus knife fight in the street? It could happen, and we should have some skills for that. But as I progressed in my training and always moving more and more towards that realism, I realized, what am I actually going to be using a knife for? And for me, it's going to be a deadly force situation. It might be the attacker has overwhelmed me, maybe they're younger, stronger, maybe they sucker punched me initially, and I have to have this force equalizer to survive. Maybe I have multiple opponents, who knows, and maybe they have a different weapon. Maybe they picked up a hammer or a baseball bat or a brick, whatever it might be. It could be a knife, but it could be a lot of other things. So with that in mind, we have to look at what's going to work best for those situations. So a big advantage of having the knife forward to me is this is between me and my opponent. Anything that comes toward me, this is closer than anything else. So if I move back, I can cut whatever comes at me. That's handy with empty hands. The person's coming at you empty-handed, and when those fists come in, they're running into a blade. That's going to change your attitude pretty quick. So that stance is still very applicable. When we're dealing with multiple opponents, it kind of goes back and forth. Sometimes one guy's over here and one's over here, and I'm snapping the knife at both of them to keep them back. But I'm trying to keep that blade generally between the two of us. So that knife forward has a lot of advantages, especially when you look at weapon versus weapon, because I want to cut that weapon bearing limb and I want to enter against a longer weapon right away and get this knife on a target. But the knife back is also very important. When I first saw that in military manuals, they would always have the hand forward and the knife back. And coming from a knife sparring background, I thought, well, that's crazy. Your lead hand's going to get all cut up being out there in the way. But that's not what it's for. It's not for necessarily weapon sparring. Where that stance really comes in handy is, when I have somebody coming in at me and I need to jam them to keep them away from my weapon. So it works great as a weapon retention method. I can use this forearm to keep the person back. I can stiff arm them. I can still be hitting them with this other hand while keeping them away. Especially dealing with multiple opponents, you have the people that are trying to hit you. You may also have the people that are trying to charge you, to tackle you, or get a hold of your weapon-bearing limb. So being able to transition to this stance and know your mechanics from this stance as well as your foot forward stance is important. If you're not used to this, you may end up cutting yourself just because you've never trained working out of this position where the knife's back. So it's really good also when I'm attacking. There's times where you may have to initiate. This person's a deadly threat. Maybe there's multiple opponents, and you want to initiate before they get started. You may hit and stab. You may grab and stab. And in those situations, the knife will be back initially because you're probably going to be striking with that offhand or grabbing with that offhand, and the knife side is back. So again, you got to know what are your angles from here and how does that work. So there's a time and a place for everything. Don't limit yourself. Don't say, well, I only do this or I only do that. Understand both. Understand the strengths and weaknesses and where they fit into the fight. Your favorite technique might not always be there when you want it. So you need to have that versatility and understanding that it's just a tool and you're going to be moving anyway. There's no static stances in a fight. So understand how to use both of them and get out there and train it. Okay, so if you enjoyed that video, please hit like and subscribe, and leave me a comment. What do you think's best? What are the strengths and weaknesses of both? What situations would you use a knife for, and what situations would you use a knife back? Alright guys, thanks.